I never deny. Yeah, I told you I would never fold, even in the cold. I never lose my hope, back against the ropes. The sun's flower from the concrete is where I rose. It's just perspective, ain't no location for highs and lows. I can't believe the lie no more, the truth is in my soul. Holy Spirit, hold my pen, I'm writing with a ghost. The war's on, my hands are up, I'm fighting on 10 toes. I ain't come this far, fight this hard to make myself known. And I can't switch sides no more, the focus in the road, yeah. And I'm trying to eat, yeah. My plate garnished with goals. I keep my faith in Yahweh, keep subscribing to.
Morning. Wow. Okay. Well, it seems like I was just on, and now I've got to be back on again. Okay. I'm going to grab a coffee while wait for a couple more people to roll in, and then I'm going to go through that article that came out because they finally said something. One moment, please. Morning, Bridget. Hello. Oh, look who's there. Mike. I'll be joining Mike later today. Left the link. Actually, let me go and grab that here for his show. And I left his Twitter also last night. Why don't I just go and drop? I'll alter that. How you doing? Francis. What's up there? So I'll be joining Mike today, which will be really nice. Haven't spoken to him for a little bit, at least on air. He's really supportive and helpful, great friend, and got a good audience, so we can get a few more people interested in this stuff. You'll get better, will you? Are you going to get better? What's going to get better? Do I sound like a pessimist? I don't mean to sound like a pessimist. So they finally said something, eh? Isn't that kind of interesting? Let's see here. Is this it? There we go. So I'll just take this, copy, and then I'll go back and I'll edit this. And I'll paste that. Great. Save. Awesome. Okay. Details now should be below. For if they're not, just refresh the page. Alerts on bombs. For Mike's show, I will be on tonight, today, in a little under 3 hours. So it should be good. We'll just kind of have a general chit chat about stuff, and I'm up early. Actually, I sleep in kind of now. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know if other people do, because I don't know if it's the COVID stuff. Nothing's really changed drastically in my life. It's not like I was, suddenly off work or anything. But yeah, no, I sleep in. Usually I'm up at about 5. I go to bed about 2. Then I have a nap during the day. I always have a nap. Like an old person, you got to have your nap. But anyways, DC, Little Miss So, Lynn, you guys are all up early, maybe. I don't know. It's late in the rest of the country. Actually, what the hell? It's 9:15. Our grandparents my grandma was up at 5 too. So let's talk about what they wrote. I haven't read the full article. I thought I'd share my great amazement with what they came out with you at the time, live reactions. Mike was right. We were talking about that, and he said, just save it. I don't want to talk about any of this stuff. And he's so right. I have great conversations with people. I had a super awesome conversation with Adrian the other day, And, you know, or over the years, many conversations, and I wish, damn, I wish I had those on air, but of course I don't do it. I don't know why. Even after all these years of knowing that, you know, you still don't do it. Just because I'm not swift like that, maybe. I don't know. Can't learn. Oh, no, that's not what I want. No, that's not what I want. That's what I want. There we go. Boom. Okay, so now to the best of my understanding, there was supposed to be a news in CBC. Of course, this is the press wing of the same entity that the RCMP is. There was supposed to be a interview. That still may come out tonight. I don't know. But this has been probably over a week in the making. Kind of seems odd that they've been sitting around on this one for at least that amount of time. I think it's for sure by Wednesday anyways. It was supposed to have been out. No, they just kept sending the same form letters to all the family. Oh, we'll get it to you. We promise, we care. You know, just trying to give you a heads up, keep you in the loop. Balls. And CBC, I mean, where are they? Of course, this is just the same propaganda wing of the tyrannical government. Doesn't matter, and I'm going to keep saying that. It doesn't matter what party you stick in. When you get to that level of power, they already have you. So I might lose some people on that one, but you can agree with, you know, to disagree on it. That's cool. But still doesn't change the fact that they don't get anything to you, right? And all these families are sitting on edge of their seats, literally, probably trembling, crying in some cases, wondering when is this stuff going to come out. I know we sat on here one day, right, waiting with bated breath. Are you going to release something? This big, long interview that, of course, Campbell went above and beyond, out of his normal range of the posted, you know, scripts of paper nonsense, where he's actually decided to sit down and answer some questions. I'm sure those are probably pre-screened as well. And he may have a teleprompter off camera, who knows? Or he's got a good memory, who knows? But clearly he doesn't have that great of a memory, because we've caught him in a few things where it's just a problem. But to no avail. Just sit around for hours. Like, what does that do to somebody whose family members are lost and you're wondering what's going on here? Can you tell me something? I've now been sitting around the TV for hours and I've got nothing. You know, it was an annoyance to some extent for us. What about for the family members that don't have any answers at all? Bridget, 1776, what's going on there? Lunchtime down in the East Coast right now. It's 1:15. Get my East Coast time pretty straight, much better than my Atlantic time, much better than my East Coast or Eastern time zone. I seem to know that better, funnily enough, now, just because I've spent enough time with this story. So, anyways, hope everybody's having a great day. Let's see what this article has to say. Nova Scotia gunmen liquidated assets, stockpiled gas, food due to COVID fears, RCMP say. Don't put it past the RCMP for all the excuses that they can pull out. Don't. Amazing how many they've come up with. I'm going to write a list. I'm going to seriously write a list. Shooter told people he created a replica police cruiser to pay tribute to fallen soldiers. Now, I've heard this around a little bit, floated, not with any substantiation at all. I've never heard it from anybody who had seen the car or had spoken of the car. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I did read about it in one place, so I'm having a feeling this is a bunch of bullshit. But of course, who are we looking at here? Professional bullshit. My language, I'm really going to have to clean it up one of these days. I think maybe that's why some people don't take. Anyways, the man who killed 22 people in rural Nova Scotia stockpiled cash, food, and fuel due to concerns over the COVID-19 pandemic, and he gave the people close to him no indications that he was plotting an attack. Well, isn't that strange? No indications to anybody. You'd think somebody would pick up on something, right? No, of course not, because maybe he didn't plan this. And on top of that, I will say that the idea that he was liquidating cash. Excuse me? We have an email from him where he's doing business and making plans for doing business. Very close to this end of this thing. He's a millionaire. Whose cash that is, unbeknownst to us. Is that government money, your money? Is it drug money? Probably a bit of both. But he had lots of it. Lots and lots and lots of it. So this business about, he was paranoid of the pandemic. We have the email. He's going to make business deals, right? So why would somebody who's paranoid and also going to anticipate that they are either going to die, flee the scene, something, suddenly make business deals? Doesn't make sense. I smell bullshit. Over 13 hours in the span of 150 kilometers, Gabriel Wortman killed friends, neighbors, and strangers on April 18th and 19th while masquerading as a Mountie. RCMP, no, I don't think so at all. He was a police officer. In the weeks before the mass shooting that started in Portapique, Nova Scotia, fear about potential collapse of institutions and infrastructure led Wortman to liquidate his savings and investments, said RCMP Superintendent Darren Campbell in a lengthy interview with CBC News. Where was that for the last week? Is this not Canada's worst mass shooting? I thought it was, but I could be wrong. Breaking news? Did we used to have that? You remember the teletyper sound? Breaking news? Probably a little bit more important than killer hornets or whatever the hell they talk about over there. No, that was them sitting around with lawyers and each other, the RCMP and CBC government officials on the cutting room floor. What do we do? They're really running scared now. The threat that they issued yesterday, I think, which was a tacit threat to one of the family members that we know. Supposed to leak back. Oh no, I'm worried. You're looking. Quote, we do know the gunman was very paranoid. He was diagnosed by whom? Which psychiatrist? No, that would be none. We also know some would describe him as a survivalist. Oh no. If he knew how to take care of himself, that's terrible. He'd voiced concerns about the pandemic and that he planned to prepare in the events not working out the way they normally would. Well, I do that. Does that mean I'm going to go running around shooting people? No. That's just somebody with a brain. Many questions still remain about the shooter's actions leading up to his deadly rampage. Earlier this month, Maclean's magazine obtained videos, very poor quality. Excuse me. No, I don't want your update. Obtained videos of Wortman withdrawing money from Brinks Depot in Dartmouth on March 30th and reported it was a $475,000 transaction. A spokesman for Brinks told CBC News that it was unable to comment because of the ongoing RCMP investigation. You heard that line before? Heard that line? It's a transparency line. Campbell said the RCMP discovered hundreds of thousands of dollars in a fireproof container on one of the properties Wortman owned in Portapique. He said investigators are auditing his financial records and would not specify, oh, does that sound like no comment? The exact amount of cash seized. Perhaps some came into some people's pockets. Who knows? More transparency, though. So far, he said, they think the gunman believed it wasn't safe to leave his savings in the bank. Well, was that Brinks now? Quote, he felt that his financial interests would be better served by him having control over his financial assets, so that's why he converted them, said Campbell, who, through his role as a support services officer, Nova Scotia RCMP, gets updates on the investigation. About the families, there was another form letter that was sent out today. I really feel like I should read these form letters that the families get. This one says, I just learned that I'm going to read it. Actually, I'm going to read it because they just, I'm not going to say who it is, but it's bothersome because they just all get the same thing. This one says, subject news article. We don't have any kind of address to who it is or anything, like as in dear, hi, anything, just nothing. Just goes right into it. I just learned the news article was posted this morning on CBC News. Attached is the link. I'm sorry I didn't have any more warning as to when it was coming out. And then the person's name, who I believe is the only person who is the officer that deals with all the families. This is it, but what? Where? He doesn't know anything. Nobody knows anything. Ass in the dark. Ass in the dark, hands, and also pie plate, I would say, for RCMP. Okay, going back here. Families don't need to know, though. Probate court documents list the shooter's 6 properties. Okay, I don't know of 6. 1, 2, 3, or 5, 6. Oh, maybe 6. Yeah, all right. Being listed as $712,000. Real estate very inexpensive down there. Tempting. Maybe buy a place. His personal investment wealth, referenced as encompassing RSPs, RRIFs, and pensions, was estimated at $500,000. So we're at $1.2 million. Quote, from what people tell us, he was hardworking and he had many holdings. He was able to amass what wealth he had based on opportunities. Well, that would be scamming was part of that. And probably into the drugs, probably. He took. He was also the recipient of some inheritances. Oh, haven't heard anything about that at all. That's news, maybe more BS. All of these things contributed to his wealth, because we also have to remember they're trying to explain where all this money is coming from, right? So be very leery of what they're saying. Very leery. In a 2011 will, he left his assets to his common law partner. She has since renounced her role as executor on his estate. Several family members of people killed in the Rampage have launched a class action suit against the estate. Yay! Oh, and we can also add on here, which is probably more critical, against the RCMP. The RCMP are getting sued by the families, right? The majority of families now, which is awesome to hear. McLean spoke to sources who suggested the transaction at Brinks was consistent with a payout to an agent or informant who passed information to the police. $475,000? No. I've spoken to some CIs. He must have some really good dirt, because they don't get paid that kind of money. And they don't get to go to the Brinks. Let's see if they address the Brinks in this article. I highly doubt it. CBC News has not confirmed that this was the case. RCMP also have repeatedly said they have no relationship with the gunman. I That's not what they said. If you look at the exact quote that they said they did not uncover, I think it was uncover, any relationship with Wortman. We can use his name. Fuck this gunman. They're trying to psychologically get that out of your head. His name was Gabriel Wortman. Of course, if they knew about him prior, right? They're not uncovering anything, so they're kind of telling the truth. You know, this is the way they like to play word games. Campbell called the allegations, quote, very sensational and factually incorrect. Well, given the fact that you don't say any facts, or very few, don't think you're in a place to comment, sir. Paul Derry, who was a police informant and an agent including in relations to a Hells Angels ordered shooting in Halifax 2000, said he was never paid that way. Again, this falls in line with CIs that I've spoken with. My information on how that works. Are we talking about a police officer? I think it's a safe bet. As in Workman, police officer. Just like replica car, not replica car, never been a replica car. It is a real police car with radar guns, with everything in it. Quote, cages, which you can't buy unless you're a police department. Quote, I think that it's an awful leap to conclude somebody was an informant or an agent because they picked up a large amount of money. There's nothing in that scenario that would be familiar to me, and I've been paid many times over my 39 years of dealing with the RCMP. Derry said that he would have refused to go into a Brinks to collect either payment or flash money used to do a drive-by. So, of course, this is CBC, remembering CBC sitting on this article with lawyers, with the PR department of the RCMP, not informing families of anything for over 1 week on this article. Do you think this has got a little bit of spin? Trying to make the RCMP look like they didn't do anything wrong? You bet your bottom dollar. Quote, the security breaches you'd be open to, there would be just too many. You're talking about walking into a privately owned company with many people who work there. The security clearance is going to be minimal in comparison to what you need for an undercover operation. Does that address how you walk into, please, you guys, be sure to walk down to your Brinks and, open up an account. Let's see how that works out. Not going to work out too well. They don't have any security there at all, with the shitty camera footage that they have. There were always extensive protocols in place for any money transfer, and they always involved multiple RCMP officers, one of whom would give the cash to him directly. Well, see, now if it was he that was the RCMP officer, well, you know what? Then he's the one that with the cash. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? RCMP say there are no evidence of organized crime links other than to the RCMP. Campbell maintains investigators have found no evidence that Wortman had illegal sources of income or he acted in any capacity as an informant or agent of the RCMP. Again, if he's a police officer, he's not lying, is he? But he can lie. We've busted him in lies, and he has, by the book, the RCMP handbook. You open it up, you can lie to anybody, except the court. And they got busted, right? The other day, over in Colchester, same place, busted, lying, busted. They do it all the time. Revealing whether someone has provided information to police as a confidential source is privileged information that cannot be divulged, Campbell said. However, the Mountie stressed that scenario did not apply in this case, and he called reporting to the contrary a fairy tale. I call a lot of the things this man spins a fairy tale. And he's not going to divulge it. Just like the witness, the girlfriend. Very interesting about the girlfriend, right? The girlfriend who they say, oh, no, we can't answer that question. When really put on the spot by some people who can demand those kinds of answers, i.e. family members, saying, where's the girlfriend? Is she in witness protection? Is she in protective custody? Well, if we answered that kind of question, say they, that would kind of defeat the purpose of those programs. Huh? That's not a denial. That sounds like an admission. An admission. Recent media articles paint him as some underworld organized crime figure has not been uncovered whatsoever that would suggest that. Nothing has been uncovered. Okay, so then we're not dealing with any kind of new investigations, right? We're not having to have more investigations. Closed case, so now you can just tell everybody everything. Right? Oh, they'll dream up some way to spin it so that they don't have to answer any questions. Many people from the community knew about that police car he was constructing. Why he was doing that? The answer was it was to representative of police officers. So people brought that story. Well, you know what? Let's have just, can we go over to, let's see, Walker, RCMP, Cruiser, Nova Scotia. Let's see what Mr. Walker says. Let's try and get the best one. Where was that? Oh, well, I know this one is not the cleanest. They remove things out of the articles. Now, if we go and look for Walker family hired Gabriel Wortman in the 90s to work in the funeral home business when he switched careers to become an insurist. Walker, a former alderman in Dartmouth, told the Star Wednesday that Wortman had shown him pictures of the vehicle. Quote, he didn't hide the vehicle. This was not like in a garage where he was secretly making it. Spy. No. Walker said, I was well aware of the police vehicle. He was very proud of that vehicle. He told me he wanted it to go to car shows, to take it there, to show off. My fun time is sailing boats. This was his thing. And let's look up trailer. Yeah, trailer, right? So he had to take it on the trailer. There's no mention of the fact that this was for fallen souls, fallen police heroes. I thought 1 minute you're saying he hated policemen. Now you're saying he's paying tribute to them. You see, they just, any which way, they're squirming. They're nasty, dirty. The RCMP say they've determined the gunman acted, excuse me, the gunman acted alone during the rampage, but they're still investigating whether he had any help leading up to the attacks. So far, no charges have been against other parties have been laid. And this is the exact prediction that I said the other day. They're going to say this, right? So that they do not have to answer questions, because if they say, oh, well, there's other people involved, so we can't really talk about it. Well, that's kind of going by the book, right? We have an open investigation. But at the same time, they're saying, no, there is nobody. And we're not going to charge anybody, because if we charge anybody, then there would be a trial. And if there's a trial, that means there's a defendant. And if there's a defendant, that means there's a defense attorney. And the defense attorney is going to ask a lot of questions, and he's going to depose a lot of people. And it's going to reveal information that would be public property, your property, my property. We can read it. They don't want that. Very important. They continue to look at the origins of 3 guns that Wortman obtained from the U.S. and the authentic police uniform he wore. Again, this is a bit of a misnomer. There's something missing here. That would be uniforms. He didn't obviously wear multiple uniforms, but he had multiple uniforms, multiple RCMP uniforms, and a Halifax Regional Police uniform, and a badge. Don't forget that. They knew where the guns were the whole time. 200 Portapique Beach Drive, behind the chimney, just as every police department in Nova Scotia knew. And that was, what, 2011? And one of the guns used was there. Man with criminal records printed decals. Uh-oh. A man whose parents own a home in Portapique printed the decals that Wortman used to create the replica, his replica cruiser. Palango? I smell that he was right. Who is he referring to? Who's he referring to? You guys all know. Peter Griffin, who previously was linked to the Mexican drug cartel and faced charges, used to work at a sign shop in Truro, Nova Scotia. Police say he printed graphics without his employer's permission. The business owner has not responded to CBC's multiple requests for comment. Notice how everybody's being quiet. I don't know. I don't know how much of this angle I'm getting into, really, honestly, but it seems like a bit of disinformation to me. First of all, he's working at if he's a major kingpin and all this other stuff, why is he working at a sign store? There's much better ways to hide cash. You launder cash through businesses you own. You don't have to go work for somebody else. Campbell said, police have spoken to Griffin and he has been cooperative. He said, while there have been copyright issues related to the RCMP logo, printing decals isn't a criminal offense. I don't know. I'll have to look at the code again. It doesn't specifically say that. It just says in possession of. Quote, he's obviously someone we have discussed we've had discussions with at length, and we're convinced he wasn't aware of any time a plan the gunman had, he said. Not going to get charged. Nobody's going to get charged. Stockpiling gasoline did not raise red flags. While people have referenced Wortman making some offside comments prior to the mass shooting, Campbell said investigators have found the steps he took, including buying hundreds of dollars worth of gasoline. That's $300, by the way. Not a lot of cash. Hey, Mercer, how's it going? Serene Christine in the house, and Mark. $300 worth of gas. It's not exactly a fortune. Reflected he was stockpiling due to COVID as opposed to any premeditation to the largest mass shooting in Canada's history. That sounds reasonable. Have some gas on hand. You never know what the gas station's going to do. Oh no, that means he's going to go and burn things. In normal times, those same actions would have raised red flags, Campbell said. $300 worth of gas? Seriously? I don't know how much gas semis take. Diesel fuel. Uh-oh. That's probably more than 300. But given that many residents were grappling with worries about groceries and gas, it didn't stand out. It, quote, it was to the extreme, however. It appears that he did many things to the extreme. There's been no evidence that he was pre-planning the mass shooting. Oh, well, they said he was pre-planning. Now they're saying not pre-planning. $300, gasoline, Wortman. It doesn't strike me as a lot of gas. Where's that? Pretty sure it was 300. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Not exactly like an exorbitant amount of gas. Investigators believe the gunman ended up using gasolines when he set fires that destroyed most of his own cottage, a large warehouse, several vehicles he owned on the properties, as well as homes and vehicles belonging to other people that he killed. Certain vehicles didn't get burned. I believe the Mercedes didn't get burned. The girlfriend who was freezing in the woods, her Mercedes didn't get burned, I don't think. Some of those vehicles were towed. We only have one vehicle that's left on there, and that's for the great photo shoot that everybody has of 200 Portapique Beach Drive. Nobody has pictures of the warehouse. And, he just only used gasoline. Seriously, look at those pictures. Even in the warrant, they say there's only 8 feet of wall left on the warehouse, and that's it. The other ones are completely raised. And then they came in just for good measure. The RCMP put in an application with Colchester to bulldoze the crime scenes, because that's how you deal with crime scenes and things. Very investigative of them. Same with the backhoe up in Wentworth. Same with Gina Goulet's crime scene getting cleaned up in under 24 hours, probably. A forensic psychologist and RCMP profilers have been conducting a psychological autopsy. Here we go. Don't buy into this. Just leave it alone. It's absolute garbage. They just want you off thinking about stupid things. Stupid things. Who cares? Doesn't matter. I want to know the crime. I want to know the timeline. I want to know who he knew. I want to know how he got his cash. I don't frankly give a fuck how he thought. Doesn't matter with your airy-fairy terms that we're going to see, of course, float out here. Forensic psychologist profilers conducting psychological autopsy of the shooter. That sounds like a good use of taxpayer dollars. Earlier this month, Campbell said the initial findings reflected that he was an injustice collector. An injustice collector who fixated on grudges and let rage build up about perceived slights. I don't think it was quite worded that way. It was kind of things like he felt people had wronged him or something. And, like everybody has those things. Get out of here. Doesn't mean here. An injustice collector? What the fuck is this? Brand new, invented term. Airy-fairy. Airy-fairy. Don't buy into it, people. People police interviewed have described the 51 insurist as abusive and controlling. 2002, he pleaded guilty to assaulting a teen. That was horrific. Yeah, well, he's on the record. A former neighbor has spoken out about him, about being harassed by him, and said in 2013 she reported to the RCMP that he was violent towards his common law spouse and owned illegal guns. One of the many complaints registered to the RCMP about guns. Now, the girlfriend never left. The girlfriend stayed. Obviously, women in abusive relationships stay. This is not a secret, right? Sadly. But this same woman who reported this is Brenda Forbes, the same woman who reported that, she lived there for a number of years. She said she was terrified of him, but she lived there for a number of years. Then she moved to Halifax, and then she said she was terrified of him in Halifax, but she lived there for a number of years. Then she moved. Then this all went down, right? She moved and lived in, I'm not sure where she lives, Ontario or Western Canada, somewhere. Then these horrific events all transpired, took place, and then instead of reporting that to the media or going to the RCMP, what did she do? Well, she sat on that for a month, because that's what normal people do, right? And then she went to a really far left wing organization that's really questionable, and then said, oh, I have this information I'd like to report. But they're not a reporting center. They deal with like slavery and female slavery and stuff across the world. So they're like, oh, okay, yeah. And then they in turn got in contact with the Halifax Examiner. Seems like an awfully strange way to go about telling people about that. 1 month later, a series of events happened. You had the guy come out who said, oh, the girlfriend came and stayed with me in the woods. You had Brenda Forbes come out, who was known as Bo in the original article, and that's the best one of all, the Halifax Examiner one. She speaks the most. Bo. So there's some interesting details in there that she doesn't say in the televised interview or things like that. B-O-E is the pseudonym that she's using. And so you had Bo, you had the guy in the woods who apparently took the girlfriend in, and then you had the contractor who suddenly just had, I don't think it was a contractor, we never actually found out where the photos came from of the inside of the warehouse. They just kind of sailed into the media. And it was referred to as, usually you get those photo credits at the bottom, it's called supplied. That's who the photo credit goes to, supplied. Who is supplied? Something weird going on with that, all the timeline of events there, of information coming out. Car presented as a tribute to fallen soldiers, or sorry, officers. Well, same thing. I think in the RCMP, they're pretty much a militia. RCMP also believe, Thug Unit, also believe Wortman's preparations for preparing for weathering the pandemic, including decommissioned police car he outfitted to look like a modern police cruiser that he used during his rampage. How did he get the Kage? How did he get the laser guns? All the lights? No, you can't buy that. Can't buy that, sorry. Oh yes, you just buy it on auctions. Quote, his comments were that if he needed to escape, he wouldn't be challenged if he was driving such a vehicle. Really? I thought it was for shows. Oh, now it's that he wanted it for the COVID that he knew was coming. Of course, that explains the other three and the daily driver that the wife was using. The daily driver that the wife was using, which was a police car. Was that the Staples, I think? I'm not sure. The person referred to in the media initially. My memory's not that great. But if the shooter also chose to, started putting together vehicles long before the coronavirus became a concern, Campbell confirmed that he acquired it last fall, and many people knew of the project. Many people, but the RCMP, of course. But they did know. They actually did know. Let's see. Where's that here? Find trailer. Here we go. Wortman told him last year, Walker, last year, that RCMP were aware of his replica vehicle and had advised him if he planned to take it on the highway, he would need to transport it on a trailer. The RCMP did not comment on whether they were aware. Is that a tacit admission? Oops. 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 Everybody knew. They knew. They knew where the guns were. They knew the cars. Is he a police officer? Undercover? It was one of several stripped-down police surplus cars he is believed to have purchased from government auctions. That's right, with the brand new vehicle sticker on the window. Right. Right. Of course, because he bought a brand new vehicle at the auction. Like he probably the same auction he bought the uniforms and the badge at, you know, those good auctions. Wortman dodged raising alarm bells among those who knew, the senior RCMP officer said, because he told people that the car was a type of tribute to the force. Again, I've only ever heard this kind of floated once. Never from people who actually saw it, never from people who he showed it to. No. It was representative of our fallen officers, because of course he hated police officers, so then he built a car to pay tribute to them. Which is it, RCMP? Have you got it figured out? Which one? I thought he hated police officers, but now he doesn't hate police officers. In fact, he loves police officers so much that he built a car for them. Yeah. It's still not clear what prompted the rampage. RCMP have said Wortman attacked his common law partner first after they started arguing Saturday evening. He restrained her in one of the decommissioned police cruisers while he torched their home, according to police and court documents. Well, she was restrained in it. She apparently escaped through the cage in the front, crawling over guns. Don't you know? Crawling over guns that were in the front seat of the car, according to the warrant. You know, that's quite reasonable. Person's just going to crawl over the guns. First of all, they're going to fit through a little plastic window, and then they're going to crawl over guns. One would take one of those guns or do something with them. I think, you know, it's hard to imagine what you would do in that kind of scene, but I think if you were really threatened, that's probably what you're going to do. Whatever. And the common law, who's not really a common law, who is a girlfriend, but not really, yeah. Who's jealous, because that's the way abusive women, like abused women act. Abused women, in my experience, abused women in my experience, maybe you guys can correct me. Abused women in my experience, they tend to say nothing, especially if they've been abused for years. Everything is like a ticking time bomb to them. There's somebody I know who's been highly abused, and it's really done some interesting and sad things to their mind, and they're coming out of that, which is fantastic, and I celebrate that. But when you talk to them, their eye, out of the corner of their eye darts sometimes, because they're worried about, they just said something, and they know, oh my God, I could just get a walloping right now, right? Now, apparently Mr. Wortman had a bit of a temper, and if he had a bit of a temper, why is she running around being jealous? Quite vocally. And that's coming from multiple people. People she worked that worked at the same dental lab, denturist lab, right? Refers to it in the party, the FaceTiming party. She was getting jealous. They had a fight about it. This is not normal for an abused woman. That's a terrible alarm. Okay. And she escapes. Usually if you're set off by those kinds of incidents, they kill that person. They don't first. Knowing motives that may not protect the public. Some forensic psychiatrists caution that speculating about motives into the mass shootings, as it risks giving people contemplating similar violent acts ways to identify with and relate to perpetrators. I think they're just loons, and that's very sad. They have problems. But this is talking about it and trying to get this figured out has nothing to do with, oh my God, we can't talk about it. We can't talk about it. Shut it down. Shut it down, because if we talk about it, we're going to set some guy off because he's just sitting there waiting. No, facts. Thanks, people. Dr. James Knoll, director of forensic psychiatry at SUNY, upstate. I guess that's New York, SUNY. I'm not familiar with that. Upstate University in Syracuse, okay, no, New York, said since drivers like resentment, revenge, narcissism, and injustice can take many forms. It's better to focus on warning signs that could help prevent similar acts. Psychiatrist Ronald Pease, who with Noel co-authored a 2018 article, Psychiatric Times, titled "Beyond Motives in Mass Shootings," said it looks like motives don't usually do anything to protect the public. Looking at motives. Really? So, shut down. Better not talk about those things. Better not talk about that. Better not try and figure out why and how. Because you might uncover RCMP secrets. Big secrets they don't want you to uncover. Like murder conducted by the RCMP. Right? Witness stated it. Right over the windshield. Through the windshield. 5 times, I think. Shot at him. Nobody else was there. Just pulled up. Bang. It's kind of like a rinse repeat of Onslow. Bang. Funny that. Shut it down. They've got those new terms that they dream up. Fluid dynamic. Injustice collector. Quote, unless there are reasons, I think there's reasons in a mass shooting to suspect extensive plot that involves other would-be shooters, as, for example, in a mass shooting planned and carried out by a terrorist cell, it's hard for me to see the benefit of what I would call motive mongering. Actually, what about if I was to ask this person by an email? This article is they hyperlink it. Let's look at this. I'm going to read this in my spare time. This is going to be interesting. I think it's going to be kind of like the article, the go-to article, so that they can just all get passes. Oh, no, don't look here. Got another mass shooting down here. Refer to that guy's article. Put it in there. Let's dream up another term. What's the next one going to be? An injustice carousel, injustice baggage collector. I don't know. What do we got going on here? Revenge superstar. Don't worry. That's a well-accepted psychological term. And he was paranoid because he was diagnosed by 0 people. Really? Okay, let's go back through some of your comments. So that's the wonderful article written by Elizabeth McMillan. Elizabeth McMillan. Okay, I all these people covering this stuff. I'm not going to question their motives or whatever. Shut it. Okay, now. But the RCMP speaks to interesting people. Darren Campbell reached out to the Toronto Star person in Vancouver to speak to when the first Maclean's article came out, right? He reached out there. He didn't talk to anybody down in his neck of the woods, down in Nova Scotia. No. He decided to phone over there because it seems like people in Nova Scotia actually asked some kind of pertinent questions. I'd love it if he spoke with Frank. That would be really interesting. That'd be a great interview. He could come over here and talk to me. Maybe I should invite him on. See what he says. Let's have a look at this one thing I want to show here. Now, if we go to Nova Scotia, I've showed this before, but of course, my streams are very long. I'm very repetitive. I know a lot of people miss a lot of things that I say just because they're so long and involved. So often I get told, have you looked at this? And yeah, I've kind of spoken about that before, but I'm very sorry that they're so long and involved. Nova Scotia, mass shooting, 2020. Of course, we'll get our great Wikipedia. Very interesting how that all works over there. Anyway, if we go down to one of the last statements here. Finally, over 13 hours after police had been pursuing him at 11:26, Wortman stopped to refuel at the Irving Big Stop service area in Enfield, 92 kilometers south of Portapique, blah, 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 from Halifax. It at least, I don't know if this has been altered now, at least one RCMP officer who was already there to fill up on gas recognized Wortman and fatally shot him. Yeah, well, this has kind of changed a little bit, but we have either he was there or he wasn't. So let's have a look at this article. It says that footnote, right? Because this is the sentence. This is the sentence that is footnoted. At least one RCMP officer who was already there to fill up recognized Wortman and fatally shot him. Footnote 47. This is me. I'm kind of anal that way. Now, this is written by Elizabeth McMillan. Here we go. Let's see here. Find Philip. Oh, no, it's not there. Let's go to archive.is. Oh, colon. No, .is. Bing. Why do we not have this popping up? Archive.is. .org, sadly, is it with articles not so well. Now, copy. Want to search the archive for saved snapshots. Search. Okay, here it is. Thank you to those of you. I saw somebody actually archived. Not that, I know you guys are great at this now, but thank you to whoever for archiving. Any article that you read, I suggest you archive on archive.is. Archive.org, not friendly to articles anymore for some reason. But archive anything you read because it's great for future reference because things get removed. Like we're going to see here, Elizabeth McMillan's article in the CPC. This was the original article. Let's see if we can find Philip in this one. Phil. Oh, there we go. Here's the sentence. Let's get it loud and proud. Let's get it real big. When the gunman pulled up to the Irving Big Stop gas station to fill up, emergency response team, police officers, and a canine officer. Why are you doing this? Go away. Stop that. Police officers and a canine officer were already there refueling in an unmarked vehicle. It was one of those officers who shot and killed the gunman, according to the sources. And then they show you the picture of all kinds of police cars. But they say it was one tactical unit, just like they say in the, I believe it says in the warrants, also in all over the press conferences, they were saying just one car. That's it. There was none of this business about the this big huge hoo-ha that was going on down there with all the fancy photos and the signs all knocked over so that didn't obscure their bums. We wanted to have a good pictures. But here we go. When it was the gunman pulled into the Irving Big Stop gas station to fill up, emergency response team, police officers were already there refueling unmarked vehicle. It was one of those officers who shot and killed the gunman. There was only two, I believe. It was a dog handler and one tactical officer. I believe, I could be wrong, but they just pulled up and shot him, according to the witness, right? Who's on tape who CTV never aired the interview, just like they never aired the interview of 𝗙𝗜𝗡𝗔𝗟𝗬. So you have to ask yourself, why did they remove this sentence from this article? From the original article, right? Sorry, back here. Elizabeth McMillan. Why is this gone from this article? CBC? Wikipedia knows about it. Oh, but they haven't updated it because, you know what? And I'm glad that they have. It's important to see how much censorship and manipulation goes on with people. The messing around with interviews, the messing around with, like Clinton Ellison. Oh, we'll just remove that portion. He's talking negatively about the RCMP. Apparently, very few people got that video. I guess I was fortunate enough to get it before they did some scrubbing on YouTube. Because I believe I was told by the Globe Mail lady, what's her name? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Ms. Jordan. Lindsay Jordan. She was unaware of this scrubbing that had been done. She said, oh, well, they have to do that for purposes on television, to fit in segments. I said, well, no, this is on YouTube. Oh. They removed a minute of a video on YouTube? Yeah. I downloaded the original video. They went back and scrubbed it. Just like Global last night we were watching. Remember? You see that little Global? And they're talking about how he escapes from Portapique. And it goes... Bloop, 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 and then it moves on. Now he's in Debert all of a sudden. Yeah. All kind of funny games. I've caught them many times doing this stuff over the years. So anyway, let's go back here. Be sure and click the notification bell. Are people not getting notified? Getting unsubscribed. I get that all the time. YouTube loves my channel. They're really nice people. That's why also the other information I have down below, I don't know as the link to my BitChute channel works properly, which probably may be a good thing because I don't want my other opinions tainting this, even though, one is separate from the other, right? And it doesn't matter what I believe on this end about anything else. Facts are facts, whether it comes from me or somebody else, still facts. So, but there is other information below for alternative places. So when I get the old heave-ho from YouTube here, you'll be able to find me. Let's see here. Maybe she both did, like you said before. Maybe she rolled and threatened to. They're filthy. There's no way Wartface didn't run into the RCMP in some capacity. Run with the RCMP in some capacity. Obviously. What is the quote? We're speaking with the one officer who responded to him multiple times. Also notice how nobody is getting disciplined here. Nobody's getting disciplined in the RCMP. Nobody's getting in trouble at all. It's like it never happened. Just absolutely never happened. And the families just have to, deal with that one. But we can have parades. We can have parades for the RCMP. We can have photo shoots while they should be out investigating. But they'd already closed those investigation sites down because they just didn't really investigate at all. I think that's going to start to peter out, right? No investigating going on. We'll just bulldoze it. We'll backhoe it. Don't worry about that. Or we're finished over here at Gina Goulet's house. Shut it down. Just get that car out of there. We don't want anybody to see anything. This is the kind of investigating that they did. It was all called cover-up from 1001. first phone call to 911. Oh no, that damn Wortman. And I think that's what that article in the Halifax Examiner, where they're referring to, it's a really great article. Can't remember the name of it quite. I've got it stored away, but Halifax Examiner. RCMP broken a danger. Let's see if that comes up. We got some good stuff when you do that, right? Look at these articles here. RCMP rural policing is an ongoing disaster. Wow. Looking real good here. Remember Campbell? We really appreciate all of your guys' support. All of Canada's behind us. We better drive up and down some. We'll hire a professional photographer. We'll look like people are cheering us on. Meanwhile, you don't even tell family members that their family is dead. Takes you days. Takes you hours. People are camping out at your detachments. And you can't say anything, but you know what you can do? You can drive around in cars. You can hire the professional photographers to come and take out pictures of the guy who was shot blank times in a warrant. Here we go. Shot, because this is protecting something here. Shot blank times, right? You don't need to know that because it might compromise the CI who actually we didn't really get a warrant from using CI information, but you can't talk about it because we might compromise the CI. What the fuck are you talking about? You can't have it both ways. These people are slipperier. It's like the oil wrestling match. They are like everywhere, squirming. Okay, let's go back, see what here. I think it was the RCMP cracks are forming. I believe it's this article. Great article. In the Code of Silence. Is this one? Brenda Lucky. Notice how she's so quiet? They're letting Leather and Campbell take the fall on this one. Bergerman, Leckie, the people who are truly responsible, because they run that show, right? Oh, well, they're really quiet. Lee Bergerman had the microphone over here for her interview, you know. Hey, I'm Lee Bergerman. I'm going to talk like this so you can't hear anything I say, because then you don't know who I am. Man, it is. This line is so true. What I've learned to describe the RCMP is it's cult-like. Cult-like. It is. It's a cult. It's weird. Nobody can speak out against them. Nobody does anything in there. When they do, they absolutely get steamrolled. Mounties have also commissioned a psychological profile. And the 911 lady defending them. See, what about, I'd like to wonder if Brenda Carr spoke with the children. Did she speak with the children, do you think? For 2 hours? As the RCMP were literally steps away? While those kids sat in that basement. 4 children, I think at that point. 4 children. Children. Their parents are dead. For 2 hours. 2 hours. Wonder if Brenda Carr spoke with those kids. You can't judge anything until you're going on. Hey, what's up, Critical? Here's my buddy Critical. Good guy. He's from here. One of these days we're going to have to hook up, sir, and go for a coffee. I think that would be a good time. You can even have a beer if you want. Let's see here. Here we go. Why are you doing that? Maybe you can give me some technical advice, Crit. Stop that. Quote, I've read everything you've written over the years, meaning to Palango. And while I agree with some of it, because Palango is a bit critical of the RCMP, this is why Campbell didn't speak to him, hasn't spoken to him. A lot of it just made me mad. Remember the cult. Said one former high-ranking RCMP executive, quote, but now I have to admit, I agree with you. The RCMP is broken. It's not ready. It's a danger to the public and its own members. Ouch. There are a lot of great references in here. And then there's the business about the deep throat. Find deep throat. The most interesting call of all arrived with a cryptic description on the cell phone display that I've never seen before. Ooh. What that is, I would love to know. The caller, who could be best described as a deep throat whistleblower, obviously nervous. I will call him he from now on because there are more he's than she's in the law enforcement world. Actually, in the RCMP, upper level management, I believe, is dominated by females. But okay, never mind about that. Is what this person says. This is the first time I've ever done something like this, he said. Quote, but I felt I had to do something. He said he was calling to encourage the media to keep asking questions. Quote, don't give up. When I told him that I and others who were pursuing the story had 1,000 questions about what went wrong from the indecision at Portapique Beach Road while they sat down at the end of the road and did nothing, most of them, waiting for that armored personnel carrier while terrified children sat on the phone for 2 hours. The apparently communications debacle where only the RCMP brass was not alerted about the seriousness of the situation, but also the public. And I would say not that. They knew right away. I asked him why the Premier of Nova Scotia and the province's Attorney General, that would be Mark Furry, the former long-time RCMP member, cult, were reluctant to call a public inquiry. Quote, is it because Premier McNeil has relatives in policing and the Attorney General is an ex-RCMP and that there are ex-RCMP in the police services branch? Quote, that's not it. It's all about the money. So I switched events. Why was Heidi Stevenson alone in her car? I know what happened to Heidi. It was just bad luck. How long have we said that Heidi Stevenson, how long have we said Heidi Stevenson was killed by the RCMP? They killed their own member. Long time. But you're right. She shouldn't have been there. But that wasn't why he called. All of that stuff will eventually come out, he said. Will it? Will it? If you don't push people, if you do not push, seems no longer getting notifications. That's a big surprise. If we stop pushing on this one, we stop. The ramifications of this are immense. And I'm not using hyperbole when I say that. Immense. The powers that this force has are beyond even my imagination. The observation, spy, intelligence powers on Canadians is disgusting. Very, very, very serious. Make requests about Workman and what police knew about him. RCMP or Halifax. Just keep asking questions and filing access requests. Do you think the government will want to say their role? Do you think they've told you the truth when they're getting sued currently, right now, for lies that we spoke of the day that that was happening? Right, actually, while it was airing, I believed. And they're getting sued. And that's one of the stipulations. You lied. And it's in their handbook. So do you think they're going to tell you the truth? No. Do you think the government will tell you the truth? No. I tried to push him. I pointed out that while COVID-19 epidemic has hampered the news gathering abilities of the major media, there was a lot of good work being done by an array of organizations, from the online Halifax Examiner to the press, Canadian Press, even notorious Frank magazine, who gets booted. Booted! That damn Frank. Shut it down. You can't come anymore. And in the press conferences, holy, they just shut him down. No, we can't talk about that. We're going to go to phone calls. It was one. And then, no, we're done here. The news conference is over. Who do they work for? You. They don't have the right to say that. Do you have the right to say that to your boss? If the boss calls you on the carpet and his office, you got to stand there as long as he wants. You got to give the answers, not the RCMP, because you aren't their boss. None of us are. To date, various entities have reported on everything from the gunman's quirks, threats to others, illegal guns, replica Mountie cars, possible cigarette smuggling. I haven't read this one. And even the murder of someone in the United States. Interesting. Among other things, the man killed 22 people, including a police officer who had signed up for that job, who was doing her duty. These people actually who outnumber her are the ones, funnily enough, that I have more sympathy for. But I do sympathize for this lady, very much so, and her family. Because why? Why? The RCMP have used her so that they don't have to answer questions. Because they say, well, we lost one of our own, therefore you must feel sorry for us, therefore don't ask us any questions. Even though we did wrong things, because we lost a member, that just suddenly makes that disappear. No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. So he doesn't have a reputation to besmirch. All right? Just like Frank said, you don't have to wrap it up in a pretty bow. We want to know. There's no investigation open. We want to know. In the absence of the RCMP's official story about him, because they don't want you to know, speculation becomes rampant, which it does. Haven't we seen this run away? I have. I've seen people talking about all kinds of things, some of which may or may not be true. It's still stick with the facts. The facts are the meat on this bone. Rip it apart. Sue them. Like I said from the beginning, sue them. Quote, it seemed to me from the onset that he may have killed other people in the past. The whistleblower just hummed. Quote, there's something they are hiding that will blow the lid off this thing. There's something they're hiding that will blow the lid right off this thing, the whistleblower reiterated. I cannot tell you what that is. I shouldn't even be telling you this. Just keep pushing. CI with real uniforms, plural, including that big, nice, yellow, puffy jacket with the gravel road cob, reflective tape on the back, including a Halifax Regional Police Force uniform, including a police badge, driving a police car. Are we getting it? Are we getting it yet? CI? Agent of the police? We didn't uncover anything? You're goddamn right they didn't uncover anything, because they knew about it. That's why I didn't go to jail. That's why they didn't look for weapons. That's why multiple complaints registered against him, including by his father, went nowhere. Two brothers, uncles in the RCMP. Are we seeing a picture here? Because it's pretty apparent to me. It has been for a long time, including when I first spoke to Mike. Don't call it a real replica car. Don't. I kind of lost a little bit of Mike. Poor Mike. I love Mike. And again, I will be joining him in about an hour and a half. And it should be fantastic. You know, just kind of talk about things and hear some questions. Because asking me questions, maybe I might have some answers to. And you know, if I'm guided a bit better rather than running around with my own shiny things mind, maybe it'll serve me better. Plus, it's always good to visit with him anyway. He's been really supportive and helpful over the years. So the link is down below. We need Woodward Bernstein to break this up further, bring RCMP to their need. Well, we can do that. Why do we need other people? I'm not a big one on that. I don't like to ask other people to do things that I can do. No. God gave me that ability. I have a brain. Even though I suck with tech skills and things like that. Certain tech skills, for sure. I don't want to ask anybody else. I'm not going to count on anybody else to do that shit for me. People need to release that within themselves to trust other people to do things for them, because they're not going to do it. I can tell you that from talking to people in the media right now. They're unaware of many of the things that we're aware of. Hand to God. And they're like, oh, what the fuck are you telling me? Not alone. No, I'm not alone. I never claimed that I'm doing this on my own. There are lots of great people down here. Rage, Steve, Adrian, who are doing awesome work. You know, they've got their links down there. Please subscribe to them. There are tons of good people over here on the Discord. Again, the link is down below. Right, so we're up to 9, 10, 123 people. Started with one phone call. That's what it started with. One phone call. And we uncover stuff the media is just barely beginning to scratch. Really? And all of you sitting there listening over the hours and hours and hours that I've droned on. And looking up stuff, sending me stuff. And all that I ask, please spread that word, research, and this is the very important one. Those who are in the know need to do the right thing. I've never had a lot of appreciation for people who sit idly. If you have information, there are 22 families, thousands of people directly affected by this. Co-workers, family members, neighbors. And there's an entire country which is going down the toilet. Step up. It won't come to the surface on its own. If you've got something, that's up to you to get it to the places so that it becomes public. Because if you give it to the RCMP, I can assure you, that's like the shredder. The entire time it's been lying, hurting families as they sit there like the kids in the basement. They're waiting for you to tell the truth. Do it, please. If you can't do it on the record, I respect that. I'm fine. Don't worry about me, because I'll take the heat. I got nothing to lose. But at least give it to me so I can run with it. If I don't have it, I can't do anything. There are EMS people, there are 911 operators, there are RCMP officers whose sworn duty is to stand up for the right thing. We got that here? Where is that? Is it right here? What does that say? Failing to report or address the conduct of another member. That's an offense. Do the right thing. You want to represent a police force that you should be proud of, that all Canadians should be proud of. All those teddy bears in the airport wearing the Mountie uniform, you all buy for your relatives when they come to Canada. Well, maybe you don't, but that represents Canada like maple syrup. And these people have run amok for a long time. And they need to be put back into line by their boss, you, me, every taxpayer. That's who's going to fix it. It isn't going to be that other guy. You know, you can take care of it. Those teachers will fix my kids for sure. Well, that public inquiry, they're going to do it. I know. I'll just sit back while I have potato chips on my couch and watch Survivor. No. Work. Rain. We can do it, but have to have that information. Have to have it. All the witnesses who saw things that day, took pictures, have video, whatever. Come on. You know you don't want that to happen to you. And that's why all of you are here. Isn't that funny? To the best of my knowledge, there are only 2 family members that we're dealing with here. All the rest of you, it's because you're worried it might happen to you. And then they came for me. And you have every right to be. Because they've just got a whole shit pile more power. And they buried it. I've spoken about the Project Wide Awake, the tendering of their document of the new super duper improved spying that they're doing on you. Gravel road cop with radar gun. They're into some serious shit, man. Want to see how secretive they are? Let's see if we can find it here. Come on. I had the article. I didn't pull it up out of my... Okay. Is this it? Yeah, I believe so. Here we go. Boom. Looks to increase its digital data surveillance. They have drones, by the way. Well, they're like Israel. They won't answer the question. But you know, by not answering the question, what they're telling you. Now, Project Wide Awake. Screw off with your spying, more spying. RCMP looks to increase its digital surveillance proficiency. Okay. Please, I encourage you, research Project Wide Awake. Okay. But that wasn't enough. So what they did, here, contract tender. Social media and publicly available information will be used to identify threats and concerns. But this isn't how far they want. They want to go into Groupons. They want to go into the dark web, the deep web. There is nowhere that you will be able to keep anything secret. Your GPS, your cable TV, absolutely everything on everybody, including you, your kids. But let's look at the contract tender Let's see where they're at. What stage are they at now? Oh, it's been showed. Boom. The shredder is wide awake. Just like I've shown in the past of those of you who have been following me for a long time, the what is this? That's going to be interesting. I'm not sure what that is. The Freedom of Information requests previously filed, which is a public document now. You can go and then look at it and research it, see who's filed previous documents for information requests. Oh, they've started scrubbing that too. They keep so much from you, it would make your head spin. And that's because we sat back. We collectively, I include myself, have sat back on our couches and had our potato chips and said that other guy will deal with it. No, they won't. You give them a millimeter and they're going to take 1,000 kilometers, and they do. CBC will show you itself. Boom. CBC does it themselves. Contract tender link. And it was just tendered, submitted earlier this month. This would be right after the shooting. People were running around about the guns. The gun stuff was in the works for a very, very long time. Back the Moss shooting, they had slightly after that they started. And these news conferences, I remember all of that. That was the same legislation that they brought out. This thing, however, oh no, this was the one that they didn't want people to know about. This was what they piggybacked on. And then you go using CBC's own stuff to the actual tendering. Find public sector contract opportunities. Royal Canadian Mounted Police procurement opportunities. Oh, guess what? That's gone. Gone. Oh, no, we never asked for that. Because it's now already in place. All your DMs, everything. Everything. Those nice intimate photos that you send your spouse. All of it. You think that they're going to do stuff with that? You're goddamn right. That's the whole name of the game. That is why digital information, data mining, is the biggest industry in the world. Not oil, not banking. It's digital information. Just what you do, who you are, everything. Because then they can manipulate you. They can blackmail you. They can do all kinds of things. Wake up, please. Project Wide Awake. This is Project Wide Awake. Because that's Project Wide Awake 2.0. And right here, right now, with you, is Project Wide Awake. You have somebody phoning a reporter talking about something, and clearly they're in the know, really in the know. And look how afraid they are. Look at Clinton Ellison. But you can't let fear rule you, defeat you, because you capitulate, you give in if you do that. not much of a fight. Don't give in. Look at the fear, assess it for what it is. What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? What are you going to do to me? Get off the Facebook, people. What's that one line? There is no unity the Goyim have except behind the Facebook page. Oh, how true it is. They'll just put the flag behind their name, hashtag this, do this, that. Has a hashtag ever done anything? It's a symbol on a keyboard. Wow. Real powerful. Beep, 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 beep. Yep. Well, $200 million settlements. Boom. But we do nothing wrong here. That's $200 million, $400 million of yours. But you know who makes money off that? So they do the raping, and it's okay. They rape all kinds inside their stuff. Quite common. Lots and lots of women come out and talk about it. Look at the interviews on YouTube. There's a few of them, some very good ones. I've got some good ones off there. Holy Toledo. I'm like, RCMP. Really? That's $400 million. $400 million. At the bare minimum. That's debt. Debt equals what? Interest. Interest equals what? Over 11 cents of your taxpayer dollar. Boom. Just interest. Just interest. Doesn't touch the national debt, because the national debt just keeps going up, because that's the name of the game. Not really, truly, because at the end of the day, it's something much more insidious, something much more evil. Much, much more evil. People will stand on dots now. This is how far we've gotten, people. For something that I have searched high and low. I have come across one person who I've spoken to who had it, and another person who I know who technically died of it. And she was very old, and she had lots of other things, but she actually died of heart failure. But they put on the death certificate COVID. And the one person I knew who had it said that they were very sick. They had a flu. And it wasn't a nice flu, but it wasn't anything that they couldn't get past. Wasn't insurmountable. More people die of smoking, things like drugs. Who brings you the drugs? Drug interactions, legal drug interactions, overdoses, suicides, because people can't handle this world anymore and they're just giving up. They're like, I can't deal with it. I'm out. Come on. I like people who fight back. Come on. Even if you're going to lose, doesn't matter. It's still the point. Keep them on the run. Keep them moving. Keep them dodging. RCMP are squirming hard. That's because I think a lot to do with people. Maybe we have some role in that. Seems very interesting, a couple of the things that they've done. And I know that there are RCMP subscribers to this channel. We've gone through it. So, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to join Mike in an hour's time. If you want, if you haven't had your fill of me in the last 24 hours, please come by, stop by. He's great. Great. He's funny. He's entertaining. If you guys don't know who he is, Americanuck, Mike Phillip. Link is down below for his Twitter as well as the show information. Hopefully I've got the tech stuff right on that end. Anyway, and hopefully I'll get the phone call started right. I remember one time I forgot to call for a few minutes. And he's like, well, I don't think he's going to, I don't know. We're waiting on him. And then I phoned. God has his way. You can't be too judgmental of it. Special prayers to all the family members down there. We're pulling for you hard. We're not going to stop. Special prayers to everybody here. Stay strong. God bless.